Hi guys, it's Ryan here from theprivatebanker.com. Just doing a quick recap for crude oil today. Some pretty wild action on the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the highest time frames of as usual, and just going to quickly run through what I'm seeing here on the monthly. So we are on this what looks like to be a large sort of bracket. Obviously this bracket wasn't in play until we formed this bottom, so you could argue it was from here, but we are sort of one time framing up to the high of this bracket. If we do draw some important trend lines in here, we can see that we are still very in the macro picture, we are still very consolidated. So if we draw some trend lines here, depends on how you want to draw them. You can just see that there's a just complete consolidation in the market still, and we are coming to a real important area into this trend line high. I mean, you could argue that it's from this support here. It doesn't matter really how you draw it. I mean, this is such a higher time frame reference that you can't really be accurate with this, but I mean, you have to understand that we are coming to overhead support regards this coiling consolidation market that we've been in. So what the market sort of prime objective was at the moment was to take out this previous high. So the previous high was the 104.50s, and we saw this last month, and we did see a big print on this market into the 104.50s, and we saw 800 resting limit order get filled that kind of capped the market. And we see sort of a two-way trade come in on the smaller time frames. So let's quickly have a look here, and we can see that we on the weekly that we did open on the 5 exponential moving average for the week, and we saw this sort of two-way trade coming back in at the bracket high, and we've seen this push higher. We've taken out the 104.50s, we've tested above it now, and we've kind of seen almost a blow off top in crude oil today. We had a potential breakout, and we just see no follow through today, and there was clear two-way trade come back into the market. So going into this morning, these are a few things that I was looking at. I mean, yesterday was quite a difficult day, I suppose, regarding this, but I decided to split the D period out. I mean, we sort of see this upwards grind for the first three periods, and then we just see this real breakout in D period, and since then we couldn't come down and trade back into this sort of lower balance. You can see this clearly. So I was kind of focused on this today, this upper balance area, and what I was actually looking for at the open possibly was the sort of gap fill, and this to come down to the sort of first reference would have been the 40s, which is where we tested, and the second reference was the 104.15s. So what we saw off the open, we opened gap up slightly higher. If we look at the Globex session, we can see here that we just see two-way trade after the Globex closed yesterday, and we just see two-way trade above the previous higher day. And what we saw into the open, we just see a spike down to the RTH low. Actually, this is a Globex session, but the RTH low high, sorry, which was around the 104.46s, and we see the market push down to this level, and we see responsive buyers straight off the open. So there's still two-way trade in the market. The market could not become imbalanced, as we can see here. The market the initial balance came in, we see a breakout of the initial balance. There was a 30-minute TPO close outside the initial balance. We see that first reference hold, and we just couldn't find any offer here. When we hit the first IB extension, the market could not become imbalanced, and you can clearly see on Delta here that there was just heavy selling into this area, and the market ended up basically coming into balance for two-way trade. So after this happened, the market came down, tested the value low level, and we started to see rotations at the initial balance low and the previous value area. And when we see the market just do this, I mean, just rotating below the value area low, obviously the path of least resistance is then to the downside, and we just see a reversion to the mean. So what we was looking at on the weekly was this clear imbalance. So the line in the sand was this area here when we started to push into value. I mean, what we wanted to see was obviously the algo started to execute off of the VWAP value area high, and obviously try to push into a new high above the 105s. And this just didn't happen. I mean, we just see the market came in, we see buyers try to sell it up, and obviously this started to reference now the developing value area low on the day, and the market basically just covered back to the mean, and we just see a mean reversion on the weekly now. So going into tomorrow, just have to understand some key references here. I mean, we did try to break out of the bracket we're in, and before we had no real excess up here. Now the market spiked up. We found clear sellers up here for the moment, and the market came down, tested the previous day's range, and we just sort of closed at the high of the bracket. But obviously, like I said, real important context here is the fact that we just couldn't auction higher here, and we saw this excess at the high put in. So if we do merge the 2 days together, we can see that there was some balance started to come in this area. I mean, before we were looking very elongated, and into say D period, we see this elongation with some a slight anomaly into the sort of 104.20s, and what we wanted to see was continued elongation to the buy side, and we clearly couldn't see this because two-way trade come back into the market. So what we see was more balance into this anomaly area. So pushing forward to tomorrow, I mean, we have excess at the lows, excess at the highs, and we have potential two-way trade coming back into this market. This bracket on the daily is going to be a very, very important reference here now, and obviously we just have to trade with the market. I mean, we have nothing really to lean off at the moment. I mean, we could say that the value area high in the quarterly could start adding some confluence, but we are away from the yearly developing value area, and like I said, we do have excess into this high now. So depending on how we open tomorrow and the order flow that we see, and just depends on what happens here pushing forward. But we cannot, like I said, have to acknowledge this information. We are starting to maybe see a blow off top here, and we are possibly see maybe some two-way trade come back into the market. And if we do not continue higher, and we could see a reversion back down to this 102.40s area, which was this previous established value. So that's pretty much what we see on crude. I mean, quite a tricky day because it did look very, very bullish off of the open, and we just have to obviously trade the market generated information, and just really have to lean off of the fact that we just was seeing two-way trade on the Globex session, and we just came here, we tested above this high, there was no offer here. There was clearly no offer because we came back into value and we see a reversion back to the mean. I mean, you could have started to try and lean off this to the buy side still, but when we were rejecting the previous high, but we can clearly see some delta here that we were just selling, and as the market started to become imbalanced to the sell side and come into the previous range, it was quite obvious that we were going to see reversion back to the 104.15s at least, where we could have seen some responsive buyers. But I mean, first off, obviously when I was talking through the markets this morning, if we'd see just this spike down to this 104.15 area, then this is where the orders probably would have been waiting to see a new high. But the fact is, we put a new high in, we see the excess put in, we took out the one time frame in, and the market just basically one time frame down for the rest of the day, apart from the decay period. So like I said, you'd have to be very, very open-minded and adaptive, and you have to adapt to the market generated information coming in through the day. So pretty much just leave it at that for crude oil. Just real difficult day, I suppose, if you couldn't adapt. But I mean, we have taken out the stops above this high now. We did see a sort of stop grab, and like I said, we have seen excess in this market. So if we cannot find offer and we can't continue to open above this point of controls and on this distribution and start to form some upper trade and start to form some upper value up here, then we could just see two-way trade, like I said, and just a reversion back to this bracket low, which is going to be to the 102.30s area. I'm just going to quickly touch base on gold here. I mean, gold just a very, very funny market at the minute. I mean, we see this breakout and this big move down, and we've just seen some real heavy support coming to the 1240s. I mean, I was anticipating some further price action to the downside, but we just clearly, for the moment, we've just run out of steam, and the sellers don't seem to be here. So what we saw today was almost another short covering day. We had the lower balance into the Globex, and then into the RTH Open. We just see this massive drive up, and after that the market just did nothing. We just went sideways for the rest of the day. I mean, this was literally off the open at 8:20, and we see this massive move up within 5 minutes has happened, and then for the rest of the day we just see balance, and we were in basically a 2-point range, which is very small for gold. So there are some signs on the higher time frames that we possibly could see a reversion back to the 1292s, but the next level of confluence is going to be on the time chart. I mean, we've seen this we saw this sharp sell-off as we broke out, and you can see some consolidation coming into the 1266, 1267s, and so this is going to be obviously the real extreme with this market. I mean, we could just see some two-way trade come back into the market here before we continue to the downside, but like I said, we've seen a real brick wall at 1240s, and we just really dried up of bid here. I mean, there's just nothing going on, and today looked like a short covering day. In the RTH pit session, like I said, they just see that buy-in off of the open, and we just basically couldn't trade below it for the rest of the day, and we just hung around up here. If we do look at the weekly VWAP, we did open this week in a bullish VWAP structure, and like I said, we just see that reaction off of last week's value area high, and we just see a spike up, and this is starting to look like it could become imbalanced here. And we just see a spike down into the Globex open, and you can see that people's been this is just basically found offer straight back up to the value high now. So I have to be very careful pushing it with this market pushing forward. I mean, I was very leaning off of the yearly developing value area low. You can see here that the value started to get pulled down to price, and we did start to see them sellers coming in respecting the developing value area low. But today we've seen a punch back into value, and we are referencing that previous year's value area low, so we could still find some offer here, but like I said, we just seem to really have found dried up of bid in this market at the moment. So I mean, if we continue to grind higher into the previous year's value, then we're looking for a reversion back to the mean, back to the 1293s, 1290 area. So a bit disappointing in this market, because I was expecting maybe some further downside, even though this could play out. But regardless of what we have seen here, we just, like I said, found some real heavy support into the 1240s, and we just simply have just dried up of bid here. So I mean, what's happening now is obviously the shorts are getting forced to cover, and we're just seeing two-way trade balance back into this market now. So interesting play here on gold, bit tricky, but like I said, if we continue to keep seeing this happen, then we're going to probably see a reversion back to the 1290s possibly. Anyway, I will catch you all tomorrow, and I hope you'll trade very well today, and good luck. Cheers, goodbye.